Okay, Phil PT Precision again. We've got an Elgrand here, so it's an import. Listen, it's got a 3.5 litre petrol engine in it. The engine's fucked, right? It's come around. They're wondering why. They've put 4 cats in it. Well, it's got 4 cats catalytic converters in it. They collapsed, failed, got too hot. They had to replace that. They fixed those. Then there's the engine's blowing heaps of smoke apparently at startup. It's using oil. Anyway, it runs quite nicely, but there's a lot of smoke coming out of it. We've been given this one from a couple of guys who just don't want to touch it. There's a reason why you don't want to touch this. There's no fucking access to this thing at all. Like if you were to do valve stem oil seals, there's no chance. You know, if it's rings, well, I've had a bit of a look at this thing. I believe it's rings anyway that are gone. You're not going to fix it without pulling the motor to pieces and rebuilding it or put another engine in it. This has already had a this is a second-hand engine apparently. It's been into this thing. So today from BG, who we use a lot of their products, we have what's called, I think it should be called
snake oil.
It should be either fuck the engine or fix the engine. So a dynamic lifter that you put in your garden, but engine cleaner, right? So there's a bit of a process, there's a massive process that you run through with it. So you got to run the engine at 3,000 RPM for 45 minutes. We've got to monitor the oil pressure in it. In doing this, then we've got to do a rinse, you change the filters, you got to change everything, right? But it's without pulling the motor apart. This thing needs to have the motor pulled apart and needs to be rebuilt. It's going to outweigh the cost of the car. This is a couple of $1,000 to do this with this solution and the time spent. I'm going to re-divert the PCV breather a little bit. I have diverted this PCV breather up here so we can just see, so you can see how bad this is. This thing's stone cold, right? So it's stone cold. I'll start it. Watch this. It starts to run.
And there we go.
Hey? Well, here, look. So it's stone cold, right? It's starting to smoke out of there already. The bad looks for a red. It's had it, couldn't it? Really?
That's nothing.
Yeah, there's a slight little engine knock. That's why we want to monitor the oil pressure whilst we're doing this. Particularly, we're running it at 3,000 RPM for 45 minutes. You can hear that knock.
Yeah.
It might be something else, but it's going to be a bearing, I'd say. But hopefully, we can stop this breathing so bad and blowing so much smoke. There's a few cheeky things we're going to do, but we'll see what happens. You know, it's a couple of grand, a lot of time spent doing it. If it fixes it, great. If it doesn't fix it, like I've told the guys a couple of different ways we can do it. He's opted to do it this way. There's risks involved in the motor, but if it gets a good result, happy days. I've never seen anything really fix anything like this. BG, we've had a lot of success with BG. Hopefully, this is the first time we're doing this one. So she's either going to blow up or going to fix it. As the rinse afterwards. We also run a 44k in the petrol as well. So stay tuned. Okay, so we got the first part of solution in, the cleaner. So I've run it outside, started it over the road. There's so much smoke coming out of this thing, it's not funny. So I've moved it. I'm just going to start it now. I've got to run it at 3000 RPM for 45 minutes. Jesus Christ, I fucking hope that gets better. We do have an oil pressure gauge on it. So, still got good oil pressure, fluctuating a bit. But, mate, I have to stand here and watch this because it's going to be...
EPA.
Yeah. Got to watch the temperature gauge, watch the oil gauge, make sure that something doesn't pop. As you can see, it's really bad. So, I don't know how this is going to fix this, I really don't, but anyway. Okay, it's been running for about 25 minutes now. It's actually getting better. You see the oil pressure here, it's actually stabilised. I mean, it was flickering around. I don't know, this is maybe looking a bit promising, but...
It's got exhaust.
Man, it's not too bad. Mate, that was so thick it wasn't funny. It's all good. But,
It's not a fucking plume.
okay, so I've finished this bloody engine clean, basically trying to get the rings to stop blowing smoke on this Nissan Elgrand. So all we have used is the BG dynamic engine cleaner. Now I put this whole bottle in, which is about 4.5 litres, plus I put about 700 litres of oil in it as well.
Milliliters.
700 mils of oil, yeah.
Not litres.
Did I do? Sorry, no. So what interesting is we catched everything coming out of it. The amount of oil that came back in it, so it's nearly 5 and a bit litres, 5.5 litres say. It only came out that much, a cup, maybe 2.5 litres, that's all, it went onto that line. I mean, you can't, yeah, you can see that. There, I just marked it so you can see. So, but it still had good oil pressure, hence why I had the oil pressure gauge and everything on it. So that was the cleaner. So you saw how much smoke it was blowing. Fuck, it was blowing heaps of smoke. It was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I don't know if we videoed any with the second phase. You put a new oil filter on with every one, right? So I put the rinse in, and again I put that whole bottle and another 700 mils of engine oil just to keep on top of it, and that only came out of it. So, just under what the bottle was. So and the smoke that came out with this one on the exhaust was even worse. It was horrific. We had put the 44k in the fuel tank beforehand. The tank only had half a tank, but we put that in. Changed the engine oil again and filter, and then I've put the MOA in with the new engine oil. So I've used 540, Castrol 540 in this engine as well. So I haven't gone a thicker oil or whatnot. It seemed pretty good yesterday. The engine blow-by seemed, acceptable as well. The car wasn't blowing as much smoke, but we're going to go and test it now. It's been sitting out there all night. That was the big issue with him. When he's starting first thing, it was blowing heaps of smoke. So we'll go out and give it a go. Just to finish off on that Elgrand with that, going all that blowing smoke at the end of it. I know we started it was cold and it blew a bit of smoke, but it actually wasn't too bad at the end of the day. Once it gets hot, it's actually really good. So time will tell, but the guy was pretty satisfied. He had it for a few days and he said he's very happy with it. The way that it is drivable, not disturbing his neighbours. So whether you give it a go or not, totally up to you. It's a bit of money to be spent and a bit of time, a bit of risk. But I think it paid off quite well to do that. Yeah.